In our first episode of Buy, Sell, Hold, we have with us the President and CEO of the Philippine Stock Exchange, one of the oldest bourses in Asia, Ramon Monzon, joining us tonight from San Francisco. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Monzon. You are there, and of course, this coming Friday, we are going to go through a hard lockdown, ECQ from August 6 to 20. How will this impact, sir, stock market operations?
Well, this is not the first time we're having an ECQ, Rico. We had this from last March to about June. So the PSE is ready for it. We're going to have regular trading, same hours, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Of course, I had planned to reopen the trading floor this month, but I will have to defer that decision until, things normalize. So while the trading floor will not be operating, regular trading will, of course, be there, as happened since last March.
Philinvest Real Estate Investment Trust, or REIT, is listing during the ECQ period.
Correct.
Is the listing going to be delayed, or will it still materialize?
The listing will not be delayed. However, instead of a face-to-face bell ringing, we will be doing a virtual bell ringing.
So they have not asked for the listing to be deferred to a maybe after ECQ?
No, it's still going to be on August 12 as scheduled.
We've seen a trend of REITs taking place over the past few months. Are more property developers, Mr. Monzon, even small and medium-sized companies, considering entering the real estate investment trust market?
Well, to date, Rico, we've had the big real estate developers. We had A-REIT of Ayala Land. We're going to have Philinvest. We're going to have Robinson's Land. And then the Mega World M-REIT. So at the moment, we have the big players. But like I mentioned before, this REIT offerings, we really want to attract the medium and small property owners so they could raise capital, recycle capital, and develop other properties.
Who are these small and medium-sized developers that you are targeting, Mr. Monzon?
Well, right now, there are inquiries from about two, property developers in the provinces. So these are not an application, but really just inquiries. So we're pursuing those. I'm not at liberty to disclose them at this time.
All right. But at a future episode, you will let us know which companies these are. Which other firms are also seeking listings on the stock exchange? I mean, the stock exchange is on the downward trend, although it rebounded today, but it's one of the worst performing markets in the world. Do you think this is a time for new listings?
Well, remember, during the height of the pandemic last year, we had the first REIT listing, in a REIT, and that turned out to be a very successful capital raising activity, and even for the investors, that proved to be very profitable. So
Right.
I commend companies who see opportunities during times like this.
Mr. Monzon,
So
I would like to jump in because we'll now take you live to Wall Street on your screens. GXO Logistics ringing the bell of the New York Stock Exchange. This is a new feature of the final word, buy, sell, hold. And this marks the start of the day's trading day in the United States. Well, last week, U.S. stocks closed the trading month in the red, partly due to the more than 7% decline in Amazon shares after the company's earnings fell below forecasts. But the benchmark S&P 500 index posted gains for the 6th straight month, its longest winning streak since 2018. So this is a new feature, Mr. Monzon, on CNN Philippines, the final word, buy, sell, hold, wherein we will have the New York Stock Exchange opening every weeknight from Monday to Friday.
That's very interesting. That to be
So
interesting
now,
to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Look at that. GXO just listed on the New York Stock Exchange today. Okay, let's continue our discussion, Mr. Monzon. I want to find out what is the latest on the approval from regulators on short selling, which will be important to attracting foreign investors back to the market.
Well, again, we've moved our hopes or expectancies to the second half of the year, hopefully the third quarter. I mean, rest assured, we're following this up regularly and consistently and persistently with our regulators. So we hope they'll find time to really take a look at this and issue their approval for the short selling, which I think is really very important for our market.
All right. A final question for you, Mr. Monzon. The Philippine Stock Exchange is looking at companies to go public if they avail of government incentives. What is the latest on this, and how many companies are you looking at?
Okay. Well, basically, what we really have a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Trade and Industry, where in general, companies that avail of incentives are supposed to offer their shares to the public. But offering the shares to the public is not equivalent to listing on the stock exchange, because if you offer to more than 19 shareholders, then that would comply with public listing. So what we're trying to convince the BOI and the DTI is to look at all these companies that avail of incentives and determine which ones are really ready and should be listed in the stock exchange. And that's what we have an ongoing discussion with the Board of Investments and the DTI on.
And briefly, Mr. Monzon.
Companies.
And briefly, Mr. Monzon, the PSE also wants to introduce new indices to boost market liquidity. When is this likely to happen?
Oh, well, that's for surely going to happen in the second half of this year. We'll be launching the mid-cap index and the high dividend yield index this year.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Final Words Buy, Sell, Hold segment. Mr. Ramon Monzon, the President and CEO of the Philippine Stock Exchange, joining us from San Francisco.